from The Sixth Sense. Of course you know him from Unbreakable. That's right, cheer, yes. Of course you know him from The Village. Sign. Of course you will know him again from the upcoming movie The Visit. And of course you know him from Wayward Pines, Philadelphia. Show your hometown love to Mr. Shyamalan.
That come out playing basketball or something.
It's like a prize fight. Well, this is your stage. This is your ring right now. So
getting pumped back.
You're getting pumped, yeah. Actually, we're gonna do the battle royale of Night versus one lucky fan. They told you about that, right? Well, okay. Well, first off, congratulations on Wayward Pines. These based on the series of books by Blake Crouch. But you know what? I have a question about that ending right there. What is it with you and walls, man? Like, blocking an entire city. What's the appeal, I mean, legitimately, of working in a realm, a community that's sort of so isolated and walled off? What do you like about that?
You know, I like always contained stories, you know. Something gigantic's going on, but you tell it from a very contained place, either with a family in a house.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's better to insinuate things. And then all the characters have to deal with the reality of what's out there. I was offered one of these giant kind of action movies, once like a historical action picture, and I remember thinking about how I was going to shoot it. Was like the two warriors talking before they went out and all the battles going on, and I just didn't think the studio was going to be up for that, but it was like a feeling of like what's out there versus, you know, the characters inside. And the wall stuff is actually, I actually live near Foxcatcher. Do you know that story of Foxcatcher and the whole thing in the estate out there where they, you know, guy killed somebody or whatever? And that they used to have this wall, this fence that I drive by all the time, and so it was always on my mind thinking about what's on the other side of the fence and what are they doing in there. I heard they had an insane asylum and there all kinds of cool stuff. But,
yeah. Well, I mean, aesthetically, talk about the other things that are creepy about. I mean, a kid that grew up in the Philly region. Do little towns kind of creep you out?
Well, no, I love, I mean, you write where you're from, so it's kind of like, you know, in general, I put, you know, everything I see, like small town stuff, and, you know, Pennsylvania vibe, and then something horrific happens to all of us, and it's fun.
Yeah. Well, what is the specific thing aesthetically within, especially within the pilot, that creeps you out? Because the whole hospital sequence just eats away at me. That plays in my fear. Anything that really creeps you out that we're seeing on screen?
Yeah, I mean, like most people, I mean, I'm Indians that, you know, that means my whole family is doctors. And so, you know, generally speaking, I'm used to hospitals that way, but as a patient, I play basketball a lot, and I've tore both my ACLs and had to do surgeries on them. And, you know, it's not fun. It's like the dude comes in, and it's not fun. But one of the things that's really interesting about Wayward, and I don't know if you guys knew, like I wanted to shoot it in Philly, but I literally could not find enough pines. It's called Wayward Pines. And you don't know how hard I fought this, by the way. I was like, we're shooting in here. If it was called Wayward Maples, we would have shot this right in Philly, man.
Yeah.
And so we ended up going to Vancouver to shoot it, and I ended up loving the towns that I saw in Philly so much that we kind of photographed them and then duplicated them. In Wayward Pines.
Yeah, I guess you could have called it Wayward Pine.
Wayward Pine, just one
lone pine. Yeah. Well, actually, talk a little bit more about Vancouver, and obviously a lot of production is taking place up there. But for this, what makes it Beyond the Pines? What makes it such a great place to film?
I mean, actually, it was that they had a massive amount of pines, and you have to have the landscape. This was a small town nestled in the middle of a mountain range and just surrounded by pine trees. Plot-wise, you'll see that it'll become more and more important as the show goes on. And so it was either like you either shoot the town here and then digitally put in everything over there, or you build the town in the middle of the landscape that's appropriate. And in the end, we chose Vancouver. I think it was a good choice, and the people there were really nice to us. They weren't Philly nice, but they were nice.
Vancouver nice, yeah. Well, you know, I was talking to you a little bit backstage that right at the end there we see the wall, and that's kind of a significant payoff for the very first episode. Was that obviously was intentional, but talk a little bit about not wanting to drag out mysteries for too long with this 10 episode series.
Yeah, Blake wrote, at the time when we started the show, he had one book written, and we made the decision to kind of do the entire book in the first 5-6 episodes of the season, which was a bold decision of not wanting to stretch it out and do the kind of milking version, but bring it to the kind of the middle point of the season, which was a big decision, and I think a good one for us because I wanted to talk about what happens after you know. As much as tease you till the reveal, and then live in it afterwards. And so when you watch the show, the second half, it's after you all know everything that I know about it, and then we can live with the characters once you realize what exactly is going on.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen the first 5 episodes, and while I'm not going to tell you what happens, I will tell you it seems like in every episode there is another significant reveal, a big payoff for it. So I would say as fans, you guys can look forward to that. Will you talk a little bit about the narrative DNA of this show, the sort of the inspirations that you were drawing from? Because it looks like, for me, it looks like there's a little bit of Twin Peaks here, there's a little bit of Twilight Zone here, The Prisoner. Yeah,
I mean, for me, Blake actually was very inspired by Twin Peaks when he wrote the piece. You can tell by the tonalities, and that, for me, like David Lynch, for me, I love him. And like right now I'm writing a new movie, and like on my desk is Blue Velvet. It's literally sitting there just so I could just get some osmosis, like genius osmosis from him. And when they sent me the pilot and it had this kind of weird tonality, you can see it if you watch the trailer for The Visit. It's weird, dark, like it's inappropriately funny, and you shouldn't be laughing at these things, and it's not good to be making fun. Your children shouldn't be behaving like this. And I love that. So I'm like in that irreverent, dark place, and the pilot had that kind of weird humor where you're trying to talk about a dead body, and he's talking about ice cream, and I really enjoyed that as one of the things. The other thing, obviously, it felt like to me very clearly like a 10-episode like homage to a Twilight Zone. That's what it felt like to me, and that's like one of the greatest things ever made for me. It's like minimalism.
Yeah, we give it up for that. You two talk about the humor, and there are these inappropriately funny parts in it. And the ice cream, I do love that ice cream, but it also grosses me out. Is anybody else kind of a little bit grossed out by the ice cream too? Because Terrence Howard is really, he's not chewing scenery, he is chewing that ice cream.
He did, and he went through like 10 ice cream cones. I do a lot of takes, and he didn't like ease off on it at all. Just went for it. I was like, dude, you can just pretend for a take or something. That's not Terrence.
Was it actually rum raisin?
It was. Yeah, now it's like every time we do a press junket for this, or everywhere we go, there's always rum raisin ice cream for me, and I'm like, okay, it was funny the first 10 times, and they're like, guess what we have? Rum raisin ice cream?
Terrence is going to have it in his contract from here on. Every project he has to be eating ice cream on screen. Actually, talk about assembling that cast, because this is a powerful cast, and it's Matt Dillon's first TV show, and all of these actors are coming from movies.
Yeah.
Just talk about assembling them. Did you handpick? How did you pull these guys together?
Yeah, it was a really exciting, lucky process. There's a lot of luck that goes into casting. You write something, and then the person that you want's not available, or they're worried about something, or I can't pull this off, or whatever it is, or someone that's working for them, an agent says, no, don't do that, let's do, we're gonna give you a great part in Avengers 18, and then you can't get it. And it's like, you can't get these guys, but we picked Matt as our first choice. I called him, I showed him the script. We had the first 2 scripts to show him, and he was really excited to do it. We talked through it. He had a lot of questions about stuff I can't tell you about, but one in particular, maybe I'll come back and tell you what he was asking about. And that this thing he was asking about is a big deal in the show, just to tease you more and more. I talked him through how I saw it and all that stuff in the grounded way we did it. And I think we both gave each other kind of comfort, because it was my first time in TV too. I didn't really know what I was doing and how, does it apply all the film stuff or not? It's much faster, and there's a different rhythm obviously to the storytelling. Since I was 10, antennas, learning the 3-act format, 2 hours, 3-act format. Forever, it's like in my head mathematically. So much so, it's almost like a math thing. And you know, like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, and The Village are all 107 minutes long, exactly. And that's a math rhythm thing as you're doing, like you're editing, and you're like, oh no, I need to know this at this point. And then learning a whole new formula for TV is, you know, scary, and you know, in a great way. I think it's turned out to be an asset because it's kind of different than everything else. It kind of has a weird, kind of quirky frame to it. So it was exciting to learn that. But once we got Matt, there was a moment where I wasn't sure how to cast the rest of the piece. And it takes a bit before you figure out, you know, how to cast it. And then when I think I might have even been Matt who suggested Melissa Leo, but it was when I heard Melissa's name, I knew exactly how to cast it. I was like, that's who should play Nurse Pam, because Nurse Pam for me is the trickiest character in the whole piece to cast, because it can go over the top so quick that you just can't relate to it. And Melissa is so grounded and so amazing, and I mean, her performance in Fighter, like for me, was like, oh my God. So I was like, please call her and ask her if she would do this, and she said yes. And then I knew exactly how to cast it. I was going to cast it like as an East Coast independent movie. So then I cast Carla Gugino and Toby Jones and Terrence Howard and Juliette Lewis, and everybody just said yes and came on as it started to snowball, which is one of the things that happens once you get a cast. It starts to snowball in that manner.
Yeah. Well, I would like you to expand a little bit more about coming to TV. I mean,
Yeah.
why is it a good time for you to do this kind of thing on
Yeah.
TV? Because, you know, Fox, it seems like, has allowed you to do a lot with this series, but why? Why come to TV?
You know, it's a complicated answer. You can probably sense some of the things of why. You know, like if you look at film, it's become, over the last 10 years, 15 years, much more about marketability. So the movies that are getting made not artist-driven necessarily as much as they used to. It's marketability-driven. You can even see by what they're making, right? Sequels and all that stuff. Things that are pre-existing, pre-branded. It's all how quickly, how easily can we market it? And then the second question they ask is it a good story? The second thing they ask. And in the old days, it used to be reversed. Like if you just think of like, I always give this example on the internet. It's an amazing thing to think of. Like the year Sixth Sense came out. The biggest movies of that year were The Sixth Sense, Being John Malkovich, The Matrix, Blair Witch Project, American Beauty, Magnolia. I mean, this was the studio's biggest movies. The Insider, things like that. That was what was being released. All original movies, all from original filmmakers, and you can see now, you know, just looking at it, it's a different point of view, different thing. Not that you can't make original movies, it's just a smaller window for us. And then the exact opposite's happening in television, which is, it used to be, we gotta sell the cereal, So we need as many eyeballs as possible on that day, right that second. So as much sugar content in the thing that you're making is the most important. Thereby another way of saying marketability right away. And then when I believe it, this is my own theory, when HBO started and they said, we're not interested in eyeballs, we're interested in resonance. So Sopranos, I want you to be talking about Sopranos, even though there's a couple million people watching it, everyone's talking about it, so you buy HBO. That was the theory. It isn't about the eyeballs, it's about you know it's a quality product, so HBO is a quality product. That spilled over into all premium channels, then spilled over into cable. So in cable, for example, like Mad Men, everyone heard it was a great, so you go, oh, I heard AMC is a good network, let's get that on our cable package. You actually didn't hear AMC was a great one, you heard Mad Men was good. And so you're like, yeah, get AMC. That kind of like instinct for the brand is good. They realized that was more powerful than the 2 million people watching Mad Men. So again, everybody started going, we want resonance. We want it to be sticky. We want people talking about it. We want it to affect people. We want it to affect this room, so they go and they tell, 1,000 more people or 2,000 more people. And that starts to come into the networks now. So that feeling and that approach is now coming to networks, which traditionally was sell the cereal on the day, because you're literally watching a cereal commercial, right? But even now they realize, like if you just look at Fox's empire, it grew from whatever it was, 4 million to 17 million by the end, because it kept on growing and growing and growing, because now you don't watch it on the day, you watch it over, and you can catch up and watch it. It's not just about the day, it's how many people are talking about it. So that movement to asking the filmmakers to be more resonant in TV versus what's happening in film, has drawn a lot of us. That's a long-winded answer, I'm sorry.
Well, based on that answer, I think it seems like he's a fan of television. Does this mean that this is sort of wet the whistle a little bit that makes you want to continue on with TV or pursue other TV projects?
You know, again, for me, selfishly, in my particular case, because I write and direct movies, and you know, even if I'm directing my own thrillers, it takes 18 months to 2 years to put out another piece that you guys can see. That's a long time to not talk to you guys and tell stories to you guys. And it's wonderful to have the opportunity between that to tell television stories. You tell more stories. I mean, I got to work with all these actors and these crew members and amazing filmmakers that I hired to do each episode, different filmmakers. I said, oh, I loved your movie, can you direct episode 8, episode 9, that kind of thing. It's great, and again, I learned different muscles. So I am interested in doing other shows, but again, I have very stringent kind of, you know, for me, I don't want to get in a situation where I have to deliver a product and the demand for it is ahead of where I'm ready with the material, which is what happens in TV. It's so fast, you know, that you just be careful when you say yes, because it can spiral really quickly.
Yeah. Well, as far as flexing some different muscles, learning different muscles, what are some things that you could take from Wayward Pines? I mean, from going 107-minute movies to a 10-hour series, what are some things that you think you'll take back to filmmaking?
Well, you know, I actually did. I shot The Visit right after I shot this, and after I did this, and I thought I was a fast filmmaker, but I'm not fast. I mean, when you want to do TV, they're lightning fast, and it really causes you to go back almost like to triage mode when you're, you know, I only have X amount of time with you, and I have to really know my material. I got to know exactly what I want. There's one technical thing which is kind of interesting. In film, we have a thing called playback. So I'll shoot the scene, I'll shoot you, and then I'll be like, okay, great, cut 1 second, and then we'll watch the monitor, and everyone kind of gathers around me, and I'm like, oh, she did a really good job on that one. Okay, I know what to do. Okay, hold on. So we're gonna do this, this, and this now. Then we do it again. Maybe I'll do a couple takes, and I'll check it again. And I'll be like, okay, all right, one more time. And then we'll do this, and then I'll go, we're perfect. All right, good, check again, let's go to the next shot. In TV, there's no time for that, and they don't have any playback. So I'm literally just here with you going, no, let's do it again. Do this, let's do it again, let's do this. Good, we're good, check the gate, let's go. And that creates this kind of intimacy, but it also creates you being in a certain headspace, you know? You know, like when you're always editing yourself, even as a human being, you're not the best version of yourself. To keep the editor out of there, you're the editor's side, you know? And there's so many people that have yapped in your head for your whole life that person's watching to make sure, but you should stay in that moment. And so that taught me really, you know, it was scary when I found out we didn't have any playback, but that's how we did the whole show. And I got so addicted to it, and I felt like that I was a better version of myself as a director, that then I shot the movie right after that, and I didn't use playback, which was exciting, you know? Like I didn't know how you did, and then until I got the dailies the next day, but it created a kind of intensity. And I believe when, like, you watch The Visit, you'll see a certain level of like grabbing the jugular kind of performances from the actors, and it's because it's like, you're right, I'm right there with you, I never let you off the hook, and we're in sync, and something like intimate happens as you don't leave, you don't go away from them, it's a performance like on theater or something like that. So those are the kind of things, so it really was a positive experience for me to learn new muscles.
And since you're moving so much faster now with your creative process, we can expect like a new movie every year, right?
Well, no, every 18 months. That's
every
right.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, and I'm going to throw it to the audience, so pop up there to the mic. But since you bring up The Visit, this is sort of your first out-and-out horror film, right? I mean, I don't know. I would argue that a lot of the ones that I know and love certainly have a horror element, but would you say that this is even more in the horror realm?
You know, they're all I like to think all my thrillers are just dramas pretending to be genre movies. They're all just wearing cloaks of, like, you know, alien movies or even comic book movies, but they're basically dramas with cool clothes on, and like nerdy guys with cool clothes on. And so, you know, this one is kind of, it's a very original movie. It's actually very funny, but it's one of my scariest, if not the scariest, like pure, you're gonna go there and you're gonna scream, and you're gonna scream for a long time.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to admit that Signs probably had that impact on me, so this is really going to...
Yeah, it's more in that vein, actually.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and you know what? I wouldn't be a proper nerd. I think people are probably waiting for me to ask this, but so Unbreakable. Not to put you on the spot, but we're all a bunch of comic book nerds in here. Can we ever expect more from the Unbreakable universe?
It's a strange thing because the movies are really kind of about again, my thrillers, and like The Visit is kind of a return to me writing my own pieces. And when I'm writing my own stuff, it's really about where I am, emotionally. So like, this is gonna be boring stuff, but like Sixth Sense for me is about like, communicating with your loved ones and like a sense of not knowing your purpose, that kind of thing. And then Unbreakable was the next step of that, was like I had become like successful and people knew me, and there was a little sense of like burden from that, and it's weaved in there, like the responsibility involved with that, and so that's where I was at that point. And then Signs was about faith, and I was thinking a lot about God and things like that, and where, is there a design, or is this all, joke,
Yeah.
And so you can see how it's like, and then, Village is like, I have a family, and how much would I protect them? Would I lie? Would I not? Like, you can see, like, literally my life. So it's hard, I know, generally speaking, it's like, hey, just make the sequel, man. And it sounds really easy, but it's hard. It's hard because one, I have what I want to write right now about what I'm feeling right now, and then two, I don't want to fake going back to doing that date with you again. I'm on, let's go have that date again, and just act the same exact way. But I've been thinking about it a lot, and I have been thinking about it a lot. So you never know.
I'll take it. Look, I'll take that. Been thinking about it a lot. I like that answer. Anybody have a question or anything? Okay, come up to the mic.
Don't be shy.
They're very shy, yeah. And by the way, The Visit comes out in September 11th, right? 2015. Hi.
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 I'm a huge fan of yours, and although he just asked the question about Unbreakable, and I did hear your answer, I was wondering, would it be possible, would you even consider maybe not doing a movie, like a sequel movie?
Yeah.
Because I think that your movies, if you did sequels, they kind of might mess
Yeah.
things up. But what if you did like a TV series of the characters who grew up like the little boy and different things like that? Because that was a great movie. We're at a comic book convention. So the fact that everything about that movie was amazing. The angles were amazing, really.
Eduardo's so amazing.
That was just a great movie. Would you possibly think about it? Could you be persuaded to possibly do a series?
You were seriously lobbying, man. You were working hard. So would you consider adapting it to another medium?
But it's funny you should say that. Again, I have to dance around all these answers, but thinking of doing it in a different format is something of interest, because it's so, the originality of the pieces is what gets me excited. That it's what gets me in trouble, and it's what excites me. That it's not, you can't put it on a particular shelf is critical for me. For me to be excited, it has to straddle a new form. It doesn't quite fit, and so these new formats, and maybe, dovetailing into our whole conversation, maybe there is another format that would make it fresh and different for me that I could offshoot it into.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll give you credit.